I have with me Mr. Steve Legg, friend of mine, and I thought it'd be great to talk about some of his story, his faith. You may know him for different things. You may know him for Sorted Magazine or something called The Gathering. We'll go into all those things. There's loads of reasons why you may know him, but yeah, hello, Steve.
Hello, Andy P.
So just how do you think people know you best today? When you've done so many things, how do people first think, oh, I know you because what do people know you from now?
You know, I think most people know me from the gigs. So I've been on the road 35 years, man and boy, doing magic and comedy to communicate the gospel. When I started off in 88, I was doing escapology. I kind of took that on from a friend of mine called Pete Gilbert, who was a real pioneer in creative communication. And I really took it on from Pete. And I would get out of a straitjacket and I'd do that hanging upside down from the top of a crane, 50 meters in the air, upside down. And I don't like heights. I do that manacle between jeeps going in opposite directions and use it as very visual parables of how things in our lives stop us from being free. Things tie us up. Ultimately, sin ties us up, separates us from God, and God can set us free. So that's kind of how I started. I just recently celebrated 35 years, as I said. And I think I've done 27 countries in that time, probably 10,000 secondary schools. So people come up to me, you know, saying, I saw you 25 years ago. You came to our school, did an assembly. So that's lovely. People have booked me. I do comedy nights and alpha launches and all that sort of thing, family-friendly events through the big agricultural shows and TV. You know, years ago, London Weekend Television phoned me up and they said, we've seen you out and about and doing snippets on TV. Would you come and co-present a series with Gloria Hunniford? It's live. It's every Sunday morning on ITV. So that was a buzz until they sacked me for being too much fun for religious TV. So at the time I was gutted, but I quite like that, really. I was the only Christian on the team and I was too much fun for religious TV.
I like that.
Isn't that cool?
Right, so you've been doing gigging, escapology, all that stuff. Sorted Mag is another thing that people may well know you from. So just give us a rundown on Sorted. What's the story of that?
Yes, a Sorted magazine, men's lifestyle magazine. Probably, yeah, so we're 16 next month, 16 years old. About 16 and a half years ago, I was having a chat with my accountant in the school playground. And I always have to explain, we both had kids at the school. We didn't just meet there to discuss my tax return. And he was telling me how his 10-year-old son's mates were bringing lads mags into the playground, things like Nuts and Loaded and FHM and some of these mags that aren't quite top shelf, but pretty close to it, that objectify women, really nasty, horrible content in there, really unsuitable and inappropriate. And he said, wouldn't it be great if someone started a Christian version that was good and wholesome? It could go into prisons. We could send them into schools as well. It could be available for fellas as something more wholesome than lads mags. So he said this to me and I wandered home and I felt God nudged me a little bit, which might sound strange to people who aren't Christians, who don't believe in God. But I felt this bit of a nudge saying, well, why don't you start something like that? And I thought, well, what do I know? I've got an O level in English and I know a lot of people. And I thought, you know, come on, finance follows faith, which has been my mantra for 35 years. And I kind of stepped out in faith. And I spoke to Bear Grylls, who we knew back then. He wasn't as famous as he is now. And we interviewed Kaka and we got some great columnists and great features in the magazine. And Sorted was launched 16 years ago in November. And next May, June, it's our 100th edition. So we come out every 2 months and have been doing so for nearly 16 years. And it goes into prisons, Andy. I think I've told you before, it goes into, I think, 76 UK prisons, which is amazing. The chaplains at Belmarsh, which is a category A just outside London, emailed me a while ago because I used to send them 80 magazines, 2 boxes. They said, please send another box because scuffles are breaking out when the magazines arrive and they're fighting over this Christian magazine. So that's lovely. It goes all over the world. It's very exciting. We've got digital versions, but I love the print magazine. And I love the fact that once you've received your copy, you can pass it on. You could take it to the pub, leave it at the coffee shop, at the doctors, the dentist, the barbers, somewhere like that. Over the years, we've had people come to faith in trains and planes. 2 pilots have written to me independently who came to faith because someone left a magazine on their plane and they picked it up and they put it in their briefcase and they took it back to a hotel somewhere and they read it and they realized that this Christianity lark is true.
I knew that you were in prisons. I didn't know it was 76. That's really cool.
Oh, it's amazing. And over the years, we sent a lot to the armed forces. My mate Steve used to work for the Navy Christian Fellowship, and he would take, I think, 450 magazines, and we'd be on every ship, every Marine base across the fleet.
That's awesome. That's so good. I knew you were doing something, and I knew it would be good. I didn't know it was quite that good. That's amazing.
You know, it's so exciting. I love books because I write books, but there's something about a magazine that there'll be something in there.
Yeah.
I've written 17 books over the years, and people look at the cover and they look at the back, and they may be interested, and a lot of people are, thankfully. But a magazine, there'll be something in there that will pique someone's interest.
Yeah.
And you flick through, and you end up hearing about Jesus, which in my book is what it's all about.
Absolutely. We look forward to it arriving. So Stephen's got a subscription, and we look forward to the date when it comes.
Has the new one arrived yet? Because it's en route.
Possibly today. We have a late delivery, so it may be today.
Oh, same here. Doesn't it drive you mad? Someone's 4 o'clock.
Yeah, it's called past lunch, easy. So yeah, where are we? Yeah, it's not yet. It'll be a while, but hopefully. But it's exciting because he grabs it because he's paid for it.
Yeah.
That's fair enough. And then we're all kind of, have you finished yet? Can we have it yet?
Brilliant.
Joe loves it as well. So it's a really good mag. I can't stress that enough. It's so good.
Thank you.
It's wholesome. It's fun. It's engaging. Like you say, there's always something just grabs your interest. You think, ooh, now I want to know more about that.
Absolutely. I mean, amazing people we chat to. Plus, there's your gadgets, your cars, there's your movies with our good friend Andy Godfrey, TV, music, all that sort of stuff as well. All that stuff you'd find in a lifestyle magazine, but you know there's nothing in there that's going to embarrass you.
I want to come on to The Gathering, but you said 17 books. Have you got a favourite that you've written?
Do you know, it's generally the one you're working on at the moment, and I've just started a new one. I'm on this crazy cancer journey right now, and I've just started. A few people have said you ought to write it down because it's an inspirational story, and you came along to Hull last week and heard a tiny little snippet of it.
Yeah.
But we want to talk about hope and faith and belief and laughter and having fun, and laughter's great medicine, Andy.
Oh, definitely.
Unless you're type 1 diabetic and then you should see a GP, but it is wonderful medicine. The Bible says it. So probably that at the moment. So I'm kind of enjoying that. It's sort of the wrong word because it's been quite a journey, really.
Yeah, it's enjoyment's difficult, wasn't it? Because I mean, I've written a couple of books, little small ones, but I love doing it, and then I want the next one. So I get that. It's like, that was great. Okay, what's next? And it's
next one, bigger and better. It's got to be, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's not that you look back and think, oh, that wasn't good. It's just but I love the process of writing and editing, going through the drafts, fixing the mistakes, making it right.
It's exciting looking at cover designs and all this sort of stuff and getting people's opinions.
Yeah, right. The Gathering. I want to come to your cancer story, but The Gathering. I chatted to Carl recently. So your mate Carl Beach. So tell us The Gathering from your perspective. What is it you like about The Gathering? What is it you're doing there?
Well, I've been involved from the beginning. I've been involved with CVM. Oh man, 25 years before Carl was even around.
A little while.
I mean, Carl was around, but he wasn't involved with CVM. The Christian Vision for Men. It's a men's organisation that wants to reach men with the good news of Jesus. And The Gathering, I think, probably started about 12, 14 years ago. I remember we were talking about it on I was going to call it a cruise. It wasn't really a cruise. It was a terrible old boat that went from Liverpool to Dublin. And we were just chatting about, me and Carl and my mate Nick and other people, just about putting on an men's event we really wanted to go to. So it's in a field in Swindon, and it's two great big tops. And at its peak, it was 2,500 men pre-COVID. Went down to, I think, about 1,600 last year, and it's gradually building up. And it's a weekend like no other. Carl calls it a cross between Songs of Praise and Top Gear. So there's things like axe throwing and wrestling, but there's also things like chess and reading. So, I hate all that macho stuff. I would much rather be in a restaurant with a Pinot Grigio having a nice meal than wrestling a bear and sleeping in a stream. I hate all that sort of stuff. I have done it. Well, I've not wrestled a bear, but I've climbed mountains and done all that sort of.
I was going to circle back to the bear thing. I couldn't imagine you doing that particular one.
No. I've slept in the. Have I slept in a stream? Well, pretty close to a stream, but I've climbed Kilimanjaro, so that's pretty impressive. But it's a wonderful weekend. Graham Kendrick comes and leads worship with his band. There's great speakers. I sort of host it and do the warm up to every session, so it's a lot of fun. So it's crazy, it's fun, but it's really spiritually dynamic, and we see lives changed every year. And you're coming next year, aren't you, Andy?
Hopefully, God willing, we'll be there.
You mean hopefully? You've got to come. Andy Godfrey's there. I'm there. Dr. Ken's there.
We want to be there, definitely.
You've
That's
got
the
to come.
plan.
People will love what you're doing. They really will.
I hope so. Yeah, we'll try. We'll make sure we'll try to be there. God willing is a phrase that I learned from an African guy years ago because I was doing worship leading one Thursday night. I'll see you Sunday morning. God willing. What do you mean, God willing? Don't you mean you're going to be there? Well, I'm going to do my part, but I can't state what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So it's a phrase that I learned. Was it Africa or Kenya? But it was just I say it now, almost off pat. God willing, because I want to be there, but we can't dictate the future. Which leads us on to your cancer story.
I was going to say, same here. Last April they gave me 5 months to live, so that was a month ago. So I should have been dead. So I'm planning to be there, God willing.
Yeah. So tell us about the cancer story. I got to know you sort of. I think it was the first time you'd had your surgery, and we sort of started chatting a bit.
Yeah.
And then it was kind of getting better and better, and then all of a sudden, it didn't. So
you never know with cancer, do you?
No.
You're never 100% sure. So essentially 2 years ago, my wife noticed a little black mark on the underside of my foot. My feet were sticking out the bed, and she said, "What's that?" And I said, "I don't know." She said, "You should get that checked out." And I said, "Oh, I'm sure it's fine." And she nagged a little bit because I walked my dog a little bit. Well, I walked my dog a lot. And so I wondered if it was a bit of a blister, blood blister or something like that. And she kept nagging. And nagging wives are good because they're normally right, aren't they, Andy?
Oh, definitely. I'm with you on that one.
They're normally right. So it was it was in the middle of COVID. So I thought, I can't see my local GP. But then I realized I could take a photo. So I took a photo, sent that in. She called me in. I'd never seen her before. And she said, "I'm really not sure. Going to refer you to a dermatologist." Went to see a dermatologist, almost kicked him in the head when he gave me an injection into my foot to take a biopsy. He phoned up 2 weeks later. I was watching the chase, 5:15 on a Thursday in November. And he phoned up and he said, "I'm afraid to tell you, you've got a type of skin cancer, but I'm sure we can sort it out." And this journey started. So I was referred to a surgeon who cut it out, and I was off my feet for 3 weeks, but then called me back in to say it was so deep, it needed to go much deeper, about 2 centimeters, which is a long way into your foot and all the way around. I had some lymph nodes taken out because cancer spreads through your body, through your lymphatic system. So they found cancer in a lymph node in my groin. So they took that out as well. The lymph node, not my groin, I hasten to add. I was off. I was off my feet for 3 months that time because that was a really major surgery on my foot. Any other part of my body, I'd have been okay, but you need to walk, obviously. And if you can't put your foot down. So that was stressful. That was frustrating. God was good. I had cancelled gigs. Money mysteriously came through the post. People sent me stuff. People I should have been gigging for, and I cancelled. They said, "Well, we're going to pay you in full anyway. I'm sure you can come to us later." Started immunotherapy because the cancer had spread through my lymphatic system because chemo doesn't work on melanoma. And unfortunately that didn't work, but it gave me type 1 diabetes. So
not so good.
I've got my little, in fact, where's my pen? I've put my pen somewhere. So if I go pale and faint, call someone, Andy.
Fine.
So I have insulin before I eat, and at night time, obviously in my pocket. Panic over. So I have that. Had a much more major op in January of this year. That's only done a couple of times a year in the UK, where they opened me up and took out all the lymph nodes in my groin and pelvis. That was 29. They found cancer in 19 of them.
Wow.
And we hoped that had got it. But as someone told me at the beginning, melanoma, it's like blowing a dandelion. The seeds go everywhere.
Okay.
And the seeds, in my case, the melanoma had spread a little bit. And just after we'd seen you at Spring Harvest, you remember, you probably prayed for me. I was going off to see our oncologist on the Monday after Spring Harvest finished on the Friday. We walked in, she had tears in her eyes. The nurse in there had tears in her eyes and said, "Look, I'm really sorry to tell you it's spread. There's nothing really we can do. And it's gone to your spine, to your liver, to your stomach and your brain." So we were really shocked because I felt pretty okay most of the time, apart from when I've had an op. And I said, "So how long have I got, Doc?" I said, 5 days, 5 weeks, 5 months, 5 years. She said, "Well, probably 5 months." So hearing that was quite something.
It's a bomb drop, isn't it? That's a big moment.
Wow, it really was. So we went home. We had to tell our 5 girls. I'd tell my mum and dad. That was pretty traumatic. In fact, I couldn't do any of it. I say we, my wife Becca did all that. I just didn't know what to say. And I was in a bit of a state for a few days didn't stop crying. Not ashamed to say that. But then I knew I had gigs the Thursday, the Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I had to go and make people laugh, tell them about Jesus. And I thought, what do I do? And I spoke to people like Carl and my friend Steve Lee and Jonathan Vieira and Ishmael. And they said, look, if you possibly can, go and do it, because this is what you were called to do. You'll feel tons better afterwards.
Yep.
And I went and did it. And I came back and it was amazing. Had some amazing gigs. I was funny. I had to get into the zone beforehand. I really did, particularly on the Thursday, because it was my mother-in-law's church. So I knew people there and they all wanted to talk about it before. And I said, I don't want to be rude, but can we talk about this afterwards? Because I just didn't want to think things like that. I wanted to think happy, joyous things. So this is a journey I've been on, Andy, really. I've tried some more immunotherapy that made me really ill in the summer. So that's not worked. I had radiotherapy on my brain, went up to the Marsden in London for some cyberknife therapy, which sounds absolutely horrific.
It sounds terrible.
I said to him, you've got to change the name. Call it cyber thingy. Call it anything else, but cyberknife. So 2.5 hours while this cyberknife robot moved around me, blitzing my brain. Wow. I asked for some chart music. People are normally older and they normally have classical music. So I asked for chart music. Unfortunately, the second song was Cutting Crew, I Died in Your Arms Tonight. Followed later by another one, Bites the Dust, and the Bee Gees, Staying Alive. So I told them afterwards, I said, you can't play songs like that. I used to do hospital radio. I'm sure you did. And as you know, there's songs like that are completely banned by hospital radio. They were mortified. I found it absolutely hilarious. And I've got 4 minutes of material out of it. So that was funny. We've had funny things happen throughout. We really have. And I've seen the fun side. And I believe I'm going to be here for a while yet. And I feel great.
Amen.
And I often quote Spurgeon, the great preacher, who said, we're immortal until our work is done. And I don't believe my work on earth is done yet. So I'm feeling good. I'm asking people to pray for me. I had a scan yesterday, a CT, and I had an MRI the week before. I speak to my oncologist tomorrow. So we'll see what happened. But, you know, the oncologist, the doctors are great, but it's God who has the final word. And I really do believe that, whatever they might say.
Totally. Which brings you back to the laughter thing, though. You're in a situation where the music is making you laugh because you're seeing the funny side.
Totally.
But the medical staff are there going, what have we done?
They were devastated. It was the day before the coronation, so they gave me a coronation cupcake to make up for it. So I was very happy with that.
That fixes everything, doesn't it, really?
Yeah, oh, it did.
Cake. Yeah, no, I was really thrilled to be able to come to see you last week because I mean,
enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was brilliant. It's only a short set, but it was absolutely superb.
Thank you.
Got to meet your driver, who was lovely. We had a good chat.
Martin, yes. Yeah, I just had 35 minutes, so I was a bit under time constraints. Normally, I would do 50 minutes in the first half, another sort of half hour in the second half. So if people are after a clean comedy night, an alpha launch, anything like that, family meeting. So what I do, I mean, there obviously weren't any kids there, but normally if there's kids involved, if there are kids there, we get the kids involved, get them up on stage, have a lot of fun with them as well.
So you said you've had immunotherapy, you talked about scans. What are the doctors saying now that you're a month past and you're enjoying life and making the most of it? What are the doctors saying is next? Because obviously you're sort of past their statement.
I'll know more tomorrow, really, because last time I had scans, we spoke to the doc and it was all very positive. There wasn't any great progression. There are a few little specks in my brain, but only tiny ones. So they'd obviously blitzed those 13 and feeling so well. I mean, it's great. You know, I've been in for the immunotherapy and further infusions there, and you go on the chemo ward and there's some people desperately ill and look grey and just sleeping the whole time. It's such a sad place. And there's me, fit as a fiddle, watching Only Fools and Horses, laughing away, feeling a bit of a fraud, if I'm honest with you, because I feel so good.
Yeah, I can understand a tiny part of that. When I had atrial fibrillation and I was in the cardiology ward overnight, I woke up in the morning, there's guys there having like really serious heart surgery or pacemakers fitted. And I'm thinking, well, I just had a bit of a fast heart and it's kind of okay now. I felt like a fraud because I was basically okay again. Yeah. But I remember the question when I was there lying in a ward within the inner sanctum of the A&E I didn't know existed, with a consultant and a doctor caring for me, not a nurse in sight, thinking, this is pretty bad. My heart rate was at 262, lying down thinking, this isn't great. But I remember saying to the doctor, I'm going to die from this, because that was the first thing I wanted to know. If I'm going to die, let me deal with that and get on with this.
What did they say?
No, you shouldn't die from this. Not for another 40 years.
Oh,
thinking,
really? How
if
old
I
were you then?
it's only 2 years ago,
Wow. How old are you now?
46.
86. That's a good age.
I was thinking that, but I
Four,
don't
yeah.
want. But my initial thought was, so if my hold is at 260 for 40 years, it'll kill me. No, no,
Yeah.
no. I mean, it'll get better
Yeah.
if you have this in 40 years. But it's just, yeah, I saw sort of a funny moment, but laughed at it works, doesn't it? It helps
Do you
us
know what?
get
I've
through.
seen it throughout. You know, one of my first procedures went in to have this op on my foot, and the nurse says you'll have to strip down to your pants. And I said, can I just clarify, you do work here? Can I see your ID? Because this is an operation on my foot. I thought it's just some strange woman coming in to get her kicks at the hospital. And, you know, the oncologist, you know, I'd gone on steroids, which made me feel rough, but you cured the colitis as well. And I said, well, on the plus side, I'll get some really good guns if I go to the gym. And she said, only you could see something positive out of this. And I thought, oh, I like this. I'm having a bit of an impact here.
Yeah.
That we're always laughing and I'm always joking. I'm always seeing the funny side of things. Obviously, we were devastated to hear about the 5 months, and I had to go and visit a hospice a few weeks later to discuss end of life care, and that wasn't a bundle of laughs. But flipping heck, it's sobering, Andy.
But you're here and you're fighting on, and you. I mean, what got me from your story, listening to you, is knowing you as I do a little bit, seeing you talking about your stuff through kind of comedy and lighthearted stuff, but that then enables you to make a statement which you can't argue with it because it's your statement, it's your story, it's your testimony, and that's what was powerful.
Yeah, I keep saying to Carl Beach, who I know you had on the show, he probably talked about his earlier onset Parkinson's. I keep saying to him, you know, we have to do something positive with this. Neither of us would have chosen to be walking this path, but we are. So if good doesn't come out of it, this is a real wasted experience. So we've got to bring some good out of it. And I hope, you know, writing this book will do that. And I hope as I share, as I'm out on the road gigging, that'll help. And people seem to appreciate it.
Yeah, I do, definitely. It's a story that needs to be told. I was chatting to someone recently. They said you can't argue with someone's testimony. You can deny God, you can question faith, but you cannot argue
someone's story,
with a statement.
You can't argue with,
because it's their story, and your story is amazing, and it's one of hope, which is what excites me. Because you've been through the mill, you've been through the fire. But there's a bit Isaiah 43, and it talks about how God isn't around us when we're going through the troubles. He's walking through the flood with us. He's walking with us through the fire, and that seems to be the testimony that you're speaking of so clearly.
Totally. He's been amazing. He really is. And I feel closer to God now than I think I ever have.
Yeah, which is understandable. I kind of get that. I haven't had your cancer scare, but I mean, even atrial fibrillation, which I don't have, I just had one random incident. It does refresh your appreciation of living.
Doesn't it?
Just a lot.
Yeah, it makes you think about what matters and what doesn't it?
Oh, doesn't it just? Have you got any gigs coming up in the next week or two?
Yeah, I'm in Cheltenham this Saturday, so that's going to be a lot of fun. The following week down in Essex somewhere. Yeah, so really every Saturday right up to Christmas. In the old days, people used to book me 18 months to 2 years in advance. These days, it's more like 6 weeks, Andy. So I'm not unduly worried that next year isn't looking very busy yet. It's just times are different. Times have changed, haven't they? So, yeah, loving the gigs. Absolutely loving it. I'm not allowed to drive anymore, unfortunately. So that's a real gutter. So I have to have drivers. So that's interesting because normally I would drive to Hull and back in one day.
Yeah.
But obviously Martin isn't used to that. So we stayed the night at the Toby Inn. So that was fun. Yeah. So it's great.
Brilliant. How do people find out where you're at? Have you got a website people can track you or see what you do?
Yep. stevelegg.com is my gig website. I don't tend to put dates on there, but follow me on Facebook and I'll say where I am and encourage people to get tickets. And for sortedmag.com. Do subscribe. Christmas is coming, under 100 days to go. It's a lovely gift for someone that lasts all year for 36 quid every 2 months. That'll pop through someone's letterbox. So if you're after a present for a bloke, a teenage son, an older kid, probably, I don't know, 9, 10, it's absolutely perfect. An uncle, great for people who aren't Christians yet as well. So it's an evangelistic tool as well. It's not big and heavy. There's no kumbaya, Lord of the Dance. There's no preaching. There's no religious jargon. It's just fun and it's life-changing.
And it's brilliant. And we love it. All our family from 13, 18, 19.
Thank you.
Joe and myself, we all love it. It's great. Thank you so much, Steve. It's a pleasure speaking to you, finding out some of your journey, your faith, your story. And yeah, we'll keep on praying. I've been praying for you every day since, I think, was it March, April? And we'll press on. We'll keep on doing it. So thank you so much for your time.
Cheers, pal.